What's going on, people? So, that side of the box, right? Which probably doesn't look a whole lot different from the other side of the box there. But either way, got some shoes to talk about, obviously, so we're going to do that whole thing, right? Now, I had done this whole thing a little while ago, because all 8 of these Yeezys that I'm talking about today, I did the videos earlier. The camera and the microphone had a little bit of a falling out, if you will. And so I was left with no audio on my recordings. So now we're doing it all over again, right? But either way, that doesn't much matter, I don't think, now does it? So let's go ahead and move on, talk about these things. I don't know why, but for a second there, I just wanted to make sure that, as if I don't remember sitting these specifically over here, wanted to make sure these weren't the ones that I'd worn, like the older pair, because, I don't want to touch that. It's nasty. It's the bottom of the shoe. It's disgusting, right? Either way, so this right here is the Adidas Yeezy Boost 350 V2 in the static colorway for 2023/2022. Now, you'll get that in a minute if you don't already understand it. Moving along past that, though, let's go ahead and talk about the bottom. Down there, what you're looking at, right? Same thing you've seen on a lot of other 350s. It's a very similar build. So we'll move on to the midsole, right? Which is also a very similar build to every other 350 you've seen. And you do see a slight change in color when you look at the back where that Thanos chin type of area is, right? So you got that happening. Now, looking at these from a slightly higher viewpoint and all that good stuff, right? There's a decent amount of stuff happening. I mean, it's still just kind of like gray and white, honestly, right? But there's different stitching patterns and all that stuff, right? So I'll have to get you some pictures in a little bit or whatever so you can kind of really bring these around in your eyes and whatnot. Get an idea for what's going on down here. Because it's kind of a cool look. It is. But anyways, also, moving on past that, right? Because I'm not going to do a full-on review because there's no real reason to. And I don't want to. I mean, the static... I think this was one of my first reviews, right? Yeah, it would have been. For sure. But either way, so this is the static from 2018, right? This is the static from 2022/2023. The reason I say that is because if you look on the inside, at the tag on the inside there, it says 2022. However, they were released in 2023, so some people might think it's the 2023 static, but not exactly. They just came out this year. So it's kind of however you want to look at it. But if you look them up online, it's like StockX or whatever. I believe that they'll just have like the year on there, so that way you know which one you're getting into. So if you want the 2018 one specifically, I guess you can look for that. Now, why would you want to look for the 2018 one over these? Excellent question there, person. So I'm going to get into those differences real quick, right? First off, right? Actually, let me clarify some things that I'm about to say here. Add some context. Back in the olden days, I only had so many shoes, probably still more than your average person, but not as many as I do now, obviously, because that's how time works and such. But this midsole, it's not going to be looking as fresh as it did back then, right? Because I've worn these a lot by my standards, which is like once every 3 to 4 weeks, so once, maybe twice a month for a while. So they'll show their age a little bit more, not so much in the upper, because I am still pretty good about being careful, but discoloration happens over time. So just keep that in mind as we go through this. Now, starting with the bottom, down there, midsole wise, like I said, sometimes you can see a little bit of a similar thing. Sometimes it looks a little different when they remake things. This one over here, the older 18s, they do look a little more yellow, whereas these have like a fresher sort of a milky white to them. But I'm going to say that that's just because these are newer, right? As in not worn yet. And now, when you look at the actual upper though, the upper itself is all very much the same, right? Taking it out of glance and stuff, like if someone's walking by, you probably wouldn't know which pair they were wearing unless you got like really deep in there, like really deep. Because in some angles, you can kind of tell that the gray on the 2018s was a little bit darker, like just barely. And also when you catch it from certain angles, you can see that even though the stitching patterns are all the same, it just kind of goes over a little differently on between the two or whatever. But otherwise, when you look at them, you're getting the same treatment on both, right? It's just, you really, really have to get in there and look at them long enough to see the differences. And even on the inside, it's very much the same font that you have like on both insoles. It's just that one seems very slightly different. I don't know what to really say. Like, it's like if you put it through a different typewriter or something, you know, still the same font and all that stuff, still black, but it's just, it comes off a little different for some reason. But that could also be from wearing them, right? So I'm not going to dwell on that too much. Another difference that I didn't really get into, the boxes themselves, right? You probably saw from the front, like, because you can, I think you can, this is both in the frame right now, you can kind of see on the front that they look a little different. There's also some slight differences on the back too, but that's not so much just from like these Yeezys. It's just how Adidas was doing things back in 2018 versus 2023. So that's going to be a change regardless of whatever shoe you're talking about. But past that, there's not a whole lot to say. I will highlight it right now because it's one of my favorite things about these. They do have the 3M laces, right? So that was a huge selling point for me. I said that in the little short video thing that I did. And so now I'm saying it all over again that this, if they didn't have these, who knows? I probably would have been fine with just the one pair, maybe. But either way, that's what's going on here. Very much the same. To answer that question earlier, there's no real reason to go for the 2018s over the 2022s, 2023, unless you just want to like brag to somebody and say like, oh, well, my pair is older, right? But I don't understand that. Bragging about like what shoes you have versus someone else, like it doesn't, you might still suck as a person, so what's it even matter? Let's go ahead and move on and talk about some personal thoughts real quick. Personally, these right here, like I said before, are one of my favorite Yeezy 350s, right? Top 10 for sure, top 5 possibly, right? So I like them that much. Now, moving on past that aspect of it, right? The reason I wanted to get these was because, for one, I like them that much, and two, I was also curious to see if there's going to be anything different or improved or whatever. And no, they still feel basically the same and all that stuff, which is good, right? Because if you liked what you had before, what you get into, again, you want it to be the same. And this is pretty consistent, so I do like that piece of it. And then looking at it, like just seeing like the slightly different grays, like I said, the 2022s being slightly lighter, it's, you really have to pay a lot of attention to even notice that. And you can't even catch it from all angles. So I'm happy with the way these came out because I was happy with the way they were years ago. So all the stuff that I would have said if my videos were more informative back then, I would still say all again right now, right? So I guess that's why I am saying it. But is this the pair that everybody should run out and get? No, it's not. If you like them, cool, go ahead and pick them up. If you're on the fence, watch some more videos until you figure it out. I'm not going to say that this is a must-have thing, not at all. Just because I like it doesn't mean anything, right? It's just that I like it. So just remember that, right? Because there's a lot of other 350s out there that might be worth buying if you're really looking to get a pair. Or just 3M shoes in general. But that being that, we can move on. We can talk about some sizing and stuff because that's a thing that matters from time to time, right? I bought these in a 9.5 because I have a size 9.5 foot and I feel that Yeezys are pretty solid true to size fit, right? A lot of people don't agree with that and I get it because they are super snug or whatever. If you do get one and it's not fitting so great, I mean, you can take the insole out, right? You can do that. And if you're like me and if you've tried going up a half before and you don't like the way that it worked out, then just wear some thicker socks, right? You can fix it pretty easily that way. So I won't get too big onto the size or get too deep into the sizing, just saying what I think, right? Gather some other opinions from the internet if you have access to it. Now, as far as the comfort overall goes, right? The 350s are super comfortable. I'm not going to dispute that. The compact version is definitely the most comfortable version of it. However, those are a little lacking in the colors and availability, so you're mostly stuck with like these 350s. And the only difference being that the upper on those is better. The midsole on each one, very much the same. So walking around in these, a lot of people talk them up like they're the most comfortable shoes out there and like you got to get these if you want actual comfort on your feet. I mean, I would not agree with that completely. Like, I'm not going to talk down on them, but there are just so many options from so many brands that are so comfortable and often cheaper and in a wider variety of colors that it'd be crazy to just like back yourself into that corner. That's just my take on it. But all in all, though, I'm not going to sit here and talk down on the 350s. I like the nice little prime knit that kind of stretches out over time, fits a little better to your foot if you wear them enough. They're breathable, they're light. Yeah, they're just not made anymore, I guess, or whatever. So there is that. But that's enough out of me. on the sizing anyways for these shoes here. So from me to you, have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night, whatever it is, wherever you are. Like I said before, I got a lot of stuff to do, and recording these things is only a small portion of it. I'm still going to have a whole lot of crap to do after the fact. So, later, people.